One of the things that is characteristic of jobs is what we are asked to do, or rather what capabilities we're being asked to use. And people are either looking to reset those things or build on what they're already doing. Sometimes we try to, quote unquote, pivot on the capabilities of the what, and sometimes we're actually just trying to build. There's also not just the what, but the how. We might actually really like the work environment we're in. We might really like the fact that we don't have to commute on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays when the traffic is worse. We might really like the fact that we have the ability to spend more time at home or spend less time at home if we are new family, empty nesters, et cetera. Personal lives can get in the way of how we appreciate the how of our job. So if we look at the way in which the current job motivates and energizes us, we might want to reset it or build on it in our next job. Those people who are trying to reset both, we heard one of these in the stories. They're really just trying to get out. Someone shows up at the right time and offers us a way out, and we're just ready to escape because we just want to reset. It's toxic. We're just ready. The how and the what. Others are take the next steppers, build. The world is designed for take the next steppers. The organizations of the world are really designed for the progression. The off diagonals get kind of interesting. There are people who love their workplace, but somehow or another, one project, another project, one assignment, like you just accidentally end up in a world in which you're known as an expert. You get asked to do work that you never intended to do. They want to keep the work environment they're in, but regain alignment on what they're being actually asked to use to do their work on a day-to-day basis. Others, and by the way, all the way across the board, love what they're doing. They want to build on that. Everything from actuaries to blue collar, white collar, we talked. Some people just love the actions and the tasks of their work. But for whatever reason, the work environment is not energizing them anymore. It's draining them in ways that just are no longer healthy. They want to regain control of the how, but keep the piece of the what. These are all north, south, east. There's poles of a map. They're not categorical. You are not one or the other. There's a likelihood that you're in one or the other based on how you answer those pushes and pulls from the last page. But you can be anywhere in that blue space, and for that matter, we don't tell you where you are. If you're curious, there's an assessment on jobmoves.com that you're welcome to use for free. It'll just give you a sense of where you might be. But what's important about this is the following. Now that I've explained this to you, if I were to ask you, is advice for one quest good for another quest? You could pretty quickly say no, couldn't you? And yet, career advice is typically doled out in equal measures, more holistically, more stably than it ought to. So chances are that when I was giving that advice back in 2009, 3/4 of the time I was wrong. If you assume that each of these quests appears in equal measure. And each one of us will probably go through each of these quests over our lives at different points in time. Perhaps in the kind of ways you guessed when you thought, oh, those 10-plussers, they're all people with white hair in the room. Perhaps not. It's not quite that simple. But if we know our forces and we know what quest we're on, we can actually be much more specific about how we make the right kind of progress rather than the wrong kind of progress. So we're not just opportunistic, although get-outers, we love hiring get-outers because we can get them into the organization really quickly. They don't stay because they discovered all they were trying to do was escape. And once you give them the escape, now they're looking for what is it they're going to do next. But that's the purpose of this. And in order to get to each of those dimensions, we have exercises. Oh, by the way, this is just leading to the assessment. You don't need this. I'll give that to you later. But there are two dimensions. Those two dimensions have activities behind them for us. So we borrow the idea of an energy drains and drivers exercise, where you look at your past roles. You think about how there were recurring themes around certain kinds of things that energize you, certain things that took away your energy. You rank them across rank the jobs across the key drivers so you understand where you were. And you start to get not to an answer, but to trade-offs and priorities. This is not a dream job book. I'm sorry, we don't believe in a dream job book. We believe in helping people make better trade-offs. That's the Y on the X Oh, so on the why then, that's what takes you from thinking about the features to experiences. This task is not about the granite countertop. This is about the experience. It's not about what you'll be, it's what you'll do. Jobs are very good at describing what you can be. It doesn't last very long. As ironically, again, for the HBSers in the room, although this is to everybody, I had a protagonist in my classroom who's now a very senior leader, the top leader at a very large organization. But when she was in my classroom, she pointed out that if you look at her lateral moves and her strange moves throughout her career, the ones that gave her a higher title had a great return to ego, but not so much a great return for progress. And we have to be willing to step away from the addictiveness of the title to get to the do. And then the capabilities are not strengths and weaknesses. This is actually about thinking about yourself like a balance sheet. So I promised I would get here. It's strengths and weaknesses sound very trait, not state. It sounds very fixed. In reality, most people move earlier on in their career frequently, especially these days. Why? Because they're afraid that tomorrow they won't be relevant, because they're not being given the opportunity to build the capabilities that they think will make them relevant tomorrow, and every headline they read tells them the world is changing quickly. I have a lot of sympathy, frankly. But they're not looking for big things, they're looking for small things. If you're a manager in this room and you're looking to try and enable people to stay longer, what do? You give them frequent small opportunities to build the capabilities, to put the assets on their balance sheet that they think are depreciating too quickly, just the same way organizations are always thinking about how it is that they build their balance sheet for the next 5 years. And as they develop on their own progress path, that gives them a chance to believe that they don't need to move to make that progress. They can actually stay where they are. And that sounds like a great work environment to be in for many of us on that X dimension.